Hello friends, I am Dr. Bharati Patnaik from Sitabai Arts, Commerce and Science College, Akola. Friends, welcome to a discussion of a poem on his blindness which has been written by John Milton. Let us first familiarize ourselves with the poet. John Milton was born in 1608. He was an English poet who wrote during the 17th century, a very critical period in the history of England. He wrote great English epic Paradise Lost in 1667. He was completely blind in 1652 at the age of 44. On his blindness is an autobiographical sonnet. The theme of the poem is the poet's agony at the loss of his eyesight at a crucial moment in his life, and the poet's faith in God. Now, this is the poem on his blindness by John Milton. As I said earlier, it is an autobiographical sonnet. Now, friends, what do you mean by a sonnet? A sonnet is a form of poetry that originated in Europe, mainly Italy. The term sonnet is derived from the Italian word sonetto, meaning little song or little sound. By 13th century, it signified itself as a poem of 14 lines. The structure of a typical Italian sonnet is divided into two sections. First 8-line stanza is called an octave, and the second 6-line stanza is called sustate. An octave is nothing but a doubt-raising part where we usually see the introduction of the main theme or question, and the sustate is a doubt-answering part where we see the questions being answered, and this is how usually a sonnet is. Let's now take a look at the sonnet. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide. In this poem, the poet refers to his loss of eyesight. Milton went totally blind at the age of 44, even before completing half of his eye cycle. Here, ere means before. He feels very sad that he has become blind even before he could complete half of his life. He had hoped to write many poems, but blindness had denied him a chance. Hence, the rest of his life lies before him dark and wide. It is dark because he has turned blind, and it is wide because he has not even completed half of his life. And that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent. Here, talent refers to the talent of writing poetry. God gave him the talent of composing poetry. But the poet is sad because he cannot use this poetic gift. The poet feels that if the talent is kept hidden, it is like to death. Here we have a reference from the Bible, that is the parable of talents. According to the parable, there was a master who gave some money to his 3 servants before leaving for a journey. He asked them to use it wisely. The first two servants used the money to make more money out of it, but the third one simply buried it. On his return, the master was happy with the first two servants. He rewarded them, but he punished the third one for simply burying it. He exiled him to darkness. So, when the poet says it is death to hide his talent, he is referring to the God given talent which he is not able to use at the moment. He is now like the third servant who cannot use his talent in a prudent way. To serve therewith my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Here, the poet says that though he has turned blind, his soul is willing to serve God. But he doesn't know what God expects of him. He even fears that God may punish him for not using his talent. He fears that he might be exiled to the darkness, which is more severe and fearful than the darkness caused by his blindness. So he is frustrated over his lack of vision. Doth God exact day labor, light denied? I fondly ask. As Milton became blind, it was difficult for him to read and write. He had hoped to write many poems, but the chance was lost. On the day of judgment, when all the souls will meet God, Milton wishes to present all his work to God and prove that he has made the best use of the talent that God had given him. But blindness denied him that chance. Milton wonders if God still expects him to keep writing even without eyesight. But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies, God doth not need either men's work or his gifts. His question is answered by patience. Here, patience is personified. It says, God doesn't want men's service. God is perfect and complete. Those individuals who are most submissive and docile to God are always the best. They who consents gods to control them are the best servants of God, as if they were wearing a yoke. A yoke is a wooden frame that is fastened around the neck of a domesticated animal. Yoke is symbolic of obedience, but God's yoke is presented as mild. God is neither a cruel dictator nor a slave master. So those who obey him are always the best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. The meaning of this line is that God is perfect. He is the supreme Lord by whose command thousands are willing to do selfless service. With his kingly status, God has plenty of people around him to do his bidding by rushing from one place to the other. And the last line of the poem is, they also serve who only stand and wait. In other words, it is not necessary to serve God by doing anything. There are others also who only stand at his door and wait for his commands. The poet recognizes himself with those servants because he is unfit for work due to the loss of his eyesight. He further says that those who are unable to do work and calmly submit to God's will also render him genuine service. There is a place in the world for all of us. The poem ends with the answer to the speaker's unasked question. Now, this philosophy is very near to Indian philosophy, which teach men to do his duty towards God and society and have faith in the deeds of God. So, we get a message from this poem that if we are ready to work hard enough, life is ready to bless us with new opportunities. So, this is all about the sonnet on his blindness by John Milton. Thank you.